Wolves are back in action once again this midweek as we take on Crystal Palace away at Selhurst Park on Tuesday evening. As always, guys, we've got the match preview for you today here on Talking Wolves. And let me know your thoughts ahead of this game in the comments section down below. It feels good. The spirits are a little bit higher than what they were sort of this time last week. 3 points is always good. Although it's against Nottingham Forest, one of the weaker sides in the Premier League, it's nice to finally get a win, get a little bit of weight off our shoulders, and then go into this game, which and a spell of fixtures now with Palace, Leicester, and Brentford, which, you know, when we're on our game, are three matches where we can get something out of, and if we can get maybe 5 to even 9 points out of the next three games, I think that'll be a really, really decent return for Wolves and shoot us up the table and obviously take a lot of pressure off us as a club as well. The win against Forest was great, although the performance wasn't immaculate. It wasn't a phenomenal performance. We saw a lot more grit, fight and determination from the team than what we had seen in previous matches, and we had to hold on. We've got players returning for this game. And overall, the squad is looking stronger each week. Stronger, fitter, sharper each week as well. So, Palace have started okay. They've had, obviously, a couple of games postponed, so it sort of stalled their momentum a little bit. They weren't great over the weekend against Leicester City, so it'll be interesting to see what their reaction is like on Tuesday. And they did get the double over on us last season, so hopefully a little bit of revenge for Wolves to try and continue the winning. I was going to say winning run, but it's only one game won. But to try and get something else again and stay unbeaten for a couple of games would obviously be nice as well. I'm going to be travelling down to Selhurst Park. The first time I've been there, trying to tick off as many Premier League grounds as I can this season in terms of grounds I haven't been to. There's only a few left now, Selhurst Park being one of them. So intrigued. I'm not gonna say excited because I've heard stories about Selhurst Park, but intrigued to obviously go there and fingers crossed. Midweek game. I love a midweek away game. Hopefully we can get 3 points there. Now in regards to team news for Wolves, we have had Steve Davis's press conference. There's nothing really fresh and new on injury concerns. Jimenez, there's still no return date for him. Obviously Neto, Chiquinho, Kalajdzic, they're all out injured. One big bonus and big plus for Wolves is that Nathan Collins will return from suspension after his 3-match ban after the tackle on Jack Grealish. So you would assume he will return to the back line. Totti Gomez has been okay, but probably not done enough to keep his place in the team, if I'm completely honest. I know a couple of people had question marks over his performance on Saturday. I thought he did all right, considering he's not a player with huge amounts of experience. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of direct balls at that back line, so I thought he did an okay job, but you would assume Kilman back onto his preferred left side and Nathan Collins back into the team as well. And obviously it will be intriguing to see in regards to those players who are fit. You know, it's only been 2 full days rest since that game against Nottingham Forest. Diego Costa, they squeezed 80 plus minutes out of him on Saturday as well, which was really decent. It'll be interesting to see, obviously, if he grabs a start again. Before we go on to my preferred lineup, of course, the guys over at Betmate have got, once again, another pot. We will have another pot over the weekend for the Leicester game on Sunday, but we have got a pot for the Crystal Palace game as well. It's £600 guaranteed payout, £3 to enter. It's on the homepage of the app as well, so be sure to check it out, and a link is in the top of the description. To check out my team here, as you can see, I've gone pretty heavy on Wolves. I'm taking the gamble. Gone mainly Wolves with Jose Sarr in goal. Ryan Aït-Nouri and Nathan Collins across the back, with Matheus Nunes and Ruben Neves in the midfield, and Wilfred Zaha and Diego Costa up top. As always, guys, 18 plus UK residents only, and please do gamble aware. And that will lead me now onto our predicted lineup, or my predicted lineup rather, which yeah, like I said, because of not knowing obviously everyone's the fatigue and so on, it's very hard to predict bang on. But I've gone with Jose Sarr in goal, the penalty save. It's the second time this season where he's gained us some points with a penalty stop. Left back, I've stuck with Ryan Aït-Nouri. I thought he's fantastic against Forest on Saturday. If he's fit, I'd keep him in the team there. The back two of Kilman and Collins. Once again, it'll be great to see those two back in action. Right back, I have gone with Semedo. I thought Johnny was just a little bit shaky on Saturday. Welcome Semedo back in the team. Midfield three once again, Matinho, Neves and Nunes. I think this is where the game is going to be won and lost through that midfield battle. And front three have gone and changed as well of Podence, Diego Costa and Adama Traore. Of course, there's players and options on the bench. Guedes, Hwang Chan. You've got some younger players such as Joe Hodge, Chem Campbell, who have been given a chance more recently. Boubacar Traore. See the squad is getting stronger. Like I said, sharper, fitter as well. So we've got teams that or players now that is creating a really good team for us, and hopefully push on before the World Cup break to see how high and far we can get in the table. I said, obviously, this win against Forest, I think, buys the club that little bit more time in regards to a head coach search. If they win against Palace, it buys them even more time, because I think if they can continue as we are, getting points, getting away from danger, and you towards maybe mid-table by the World Cup break, it gives them so much more time and in such a better position to try and find a head coach. So we'll be interesting to see how that goes. But we'll move on to the Palace perspective now, guys. I spoke to D from the Back of the Nest channel to get his thoughts on Palace ahead of this game at Selhurst Park. So then, guys, delighted to once again be alongside D from Back of the Nest. D, how you keeping, man?
I'm good. It's been an interesting 6 months or so. We've lost a few players. You guys have had a change of form as well. But look, other than that, it's all good, man.
Yeah, Nana, it's great to have you back on the channel. Obviously, an interesting game, big game. Palace, your season's been a little bit, let's say, strange, because you've had a couple of games postponed, so you're a little bit behind other teams at the moment. But we look at the Premier League table, you sat in 13th, only 1 point ahead of Wolves, but obviously you do have that game in hand as well. Let's start off with the game on Saturday. It was a 0-0 draw against strugglers Leicester. We were speaking just before we started recording that Vieira seems to get your team bouncing back after poor performances. Was it a bad day at the office on Saturday?
Very bad day. The fact that Daniel Ward kept the clean sheet, I'm still not over it now. Because before the game, I was talking big. I was saying we have to be scoring against Leicester. They're one of the worst sides defensively in the league. I know they've got attacking talent, but the fact that we only had one shot on target, that was embarrassing. It was genuinely embarrassing to watch. And you could argue that we were lucky to get a point against them. I know it was away from home, but we should have done much better than that, because we've seen better so far this season. So it didn't make any sense in terms of how we played. And going into this game, as we talked about before, we are looking to bounce back. A bounce back is very important, because fans were frustrated. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, I didn't realise 24 goals conceded for Leicester. I don't know why, but I've got Danny Ward in my FPL team. Daniel Ward, the goalkeeper. People couldn't believe it when I had the clean sheet. So, yeah, I was happy about that one, I'll say. But
you got lucky.
I mean,
you got lucky. I don't know how. I don't know who in the right mind has Danny Ward in the FPL, but it worked. It worked.
Yeah. No, we got Leicester next weekend, so it'll be interesting, obviously, to see after the game on Tuesday how we get on against them at Molineux next week. But we'll quickly talk about Palace, and the summer window is quite quiet for you guys, to be fair, comparison to a lot of teams. Obviously, we played Forest over the weekend, who, signed a ridiculous amount of players. You guys only sort of brought in 4 permanent new signings. Pick of those is Cheick Doucouré. I think Wolves were linked with him a little bit in the summer as well. How's he kicked off for you? About £20 million you spent on him overall.
Cheick Doucouré is our best signing, arguably, this summer. I mean, we needed a number 6. We had Kouyaté before he joined Forest, and we've had a few other players like Luka Milivojevic that's also been involved as well. But Cheick Doucouré is that modern number 6 that can pick up the ball from defense, can ping the passes, very good defender. The only problem with him is that in our previous 2 games, he's had yellow cards, and Vieira just hasn't trusted him to stay on the pitch. And also, he's had cramps as well before. So he's still adjusting to the Premier League. But based on what we've seen so far when he has been on the pitch, fantastic signing, and I think very underrated. And in the long run, it could be massive for us in terms of where we want to push on to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, it was a quiet window overall, so the core of your squad has stayed the same. Were Palace fans happy with that? Obviously, you lost Gallagher as well. Were you expecting like a almost like-for-like replacement for him, but are the fans happy with the overall balance at the minute?
No, we're not happy. Look, we had this debate as Palace fans in the summer, because the previous summer we brought in Olise, Mark Gehi, Joachim Anderson, Edward. We made some fantastic signings and we spent a lot of money. But then there comes a point where you realize you're Crystal Palace, you just don't have the money to spend like that every summer. But of
Yeah.
course, Conor Gallagher, a key player for us last season, he left. Now there is a void in midfield, and we have seen it in last season how influential Conor Gallagher can be in terms of his pressing, in terms of getting goals and being involved all around. And he's doing it right now at Chelsea with Graham Potter too. So we didn't sign a new midfielder that we should have signed. We signed Cheikh Doucouré, who's a number 6, but not a number 8. And there is that void there that we're looking to hopefully fill in January. But also with right back, we have arguably the worst right back in the league. And it hurts me to say this because he's been at the club for about 10 years, Joel Ward. He was getting rinsed against Leicester, and against Leeds, he was another target. So in this game, I am 100% sure that you guys will target Joel Wood. He just doesn't have the legs. I mean, Joel Wood was with us back in the Championship, and he was a big player for us. But then as the years have gone by, he's just not the same. He's lost his legs. He's getting older, and teams are targeting him. So we desperately need 2 positions, right back and centre mid. But apart from that, we have got some quality players on our side. So it just depends. It depends on how teams target us. But we saw it against Leicester. I mean, even though we kept a clean sheet, we were very lucky at some points because in the first half, especially, teams were targeting our right back, and it was not nice to see.
Talking about obviously the team, now, who's been the pick of the players for you so far this season? I mean, Wilfried Zaha, we always expected to get amongst the goals and assists, but he seems to be getting a lot of goal contributions over the last few weeks. Is he still at the top of his game at the minute?
Well, Wilf had a slow game against Leicester, but all of our team did, so I can't just blame it on Wilf. But apart from Zaha, there are some players that have stepped up to the plate. So Eze, that we've got, who came back from an injury last season, and now he has kicked on. If you give him the ball midfield, he likes, literally, if you watch some of his plays, he loves to run past not only one, like 2, 3, 4 players. He's that silky player. We've got Elise, who's also a very good talent. And at the back, Joachim Andersen, who's heavily improved. Last season, people were talking about Mark Gahey because he played for England, and rightly so. But this season, you can argue that Joachim Andersen has been up there or on par with Mark Gahey. He's improved his defensive play significantly since we signed him last season. He actually looks like a proper defender, very good on the ball as well. So despite that, as I mentioned, Doucouré as well, despite that, what I said about midfield and right back, there are some good players, but the problem is with the midfield, when you start, for example, Jeffrey Schlupp, it does hurt us because he's just not that number 8 that should be Premier League quality as a starter. He's a good squad player, but 1 or 2 positions are kind of letting us down.
And obviously we mentioned Vieira a couple of times. It's been over a year now since he took over. What's the Palace fans' opinion of him? Are they still impressed with how you're getting on as a team?
So funny enough, before we actually started this recording, I went on Twitter and I just was scrolling, and the first thing I see is, do we still have trust in Vieira? Look, majority of the Palace fans have trust in Vieira. He has made mistakes, and that's normal because he's still learning. When Vieira first joined us, we were talking about him being a young manager. Last season, he brought us to an FA Cup semi-final. We had a pretty solid Premier League season. I know we didn't finish in the top 10, but it was a solid season. Now, this season against Leicester, people were frustrated because he made a big, bold move in the game. There's about 15, 20 minutes to go. He took off Zaha. He took off Edouard, who was scoring goals, which was quite interesting, and left on Jordan Ayew, who scored like 5 goals in like 80 appearances. So people do get annoyed with some decisions that he does make. But me, personally, I have full faith in him. I have faith that he could be a long-term success. I understand that the process, people use the word process, but for Palace, it will take a while. As I'm mentioning right now, we've still got players that we need to improve on. So we can't expect to play football how we want to play without them position with centre mid being key. One of the keys areas in the pitch for Vieira's system. And the right back as well, overlapping fullbacks. Joe Wood can't do that. So we've still got room for improvement. Vieira's still got room for improvement, but he's learning on the job. And I'm happy with him. I'm happy with him so far. And I feel like in the long run, he could still help us. Of course, we're going to have some bad moments. That's normal. Every manager has that, even the greatest, Do you have bad spells throughout the season? But apart from that, I still have faith that Vieira could be the guy in the next 2 to 3 years. Because when you say long-term, it used to be 5 years, but now long-term is like 2 to 3 years. In the next 2 to 3 years to be at Palace and hopefully build us onto a top 10 side, which is what we want to be.
I think it's so hard. I mean, we had it with Bruno Lage, who sort of came to the Premier League last year, and I think he probably had the same sort of teething problems as Vieira, where you are learning on the job. You make decisions that you probably will learn from that might not be the right decisions. Fans will get on your back about those. But I think probably I'll include Wolves in it. But for teams like Wolves, like Palace, that probably at the moment aren't quite good enough to consistently be hitting that sort of top 6, top 7, but should probably be good enough to stay out of the relegation battle. It's like teams like that, like for fans, it's just going to be boring having the same sort of process of finishing in and around mid-table, or and that's what can happen with managers, unfortunately, unless you got the backing or unless you have a very good season where you can hit that sort of top level of the league. It's so hard to keep fans on side sometimes, because you could finish 13th in the league and you will get a proportion of fans that think, I'm bored of this, I want someone else now to take me to the next level. But you just kind of have the cycle starting it over again and again, aren't you?
Yeah, it's annoying because we beat Leeds and then we face Leicester and we're looking at side that is, as I think they have one of the, if not one of the worst defensive records in the league, and we only have one shot on target. Yeah, that inconsistency is frustrating because you know that this team can do it. And we face Chelsea, we scored a goal. We face Leeds, we scored a goal. And then we face one of the worst sides in the Premier League and we only have a shot on target. Forget about the goal. Like, that's what annoys fans, I think. It's that, it's trying to be more consistent. These sides can do it. I know that Palace can do it, but, against you guys, maybe we go on to get the win. Who knows? But then I still don't have the confidence until I see back-to-back wins, because I know how this Palace side are. They can get that win and then afterwards fall back. And then that's why you're not that top 10 or top 6 side you are, because you're just not consistent enough. You got the talent, but it's just about putting it week in, week out and performing at the same levels, which is what we're not doing.
Yeah, well, as well, I mean, we've had it as Wolves fans where you'd struggle against a team in the bottom 3, and then, say for argument's sake, you were playing Arsenal or City or whatever tomorrow, you'd probably get a result against them again. Like, it's just one of those things. It's a typical Premier League sort of that, like, middle of the road team, like I said. But talking about consistency and so on, you guys have beaten us the last 3 times we played in the league. It was a 1-0 win back in January 21, and then last season you got the double over us with 2-0 wins. But historically, it's been a very even, the amount of wins between both teams is very equal. How do you think Palace are going to get on tomorrow? Do you, like you said, you are expecting a reaction, but do you think it's going to be 3-0? Hopefully not 3-0, but 3 points, 3 points for Palace tomorrow.
I don't think it's going to be that easy. No, I'm joking. Firstly, let's just start with how we faced you guys last season under Vieira. I don't want to say this because it's going to sound like I'm being cocky or whatever, and it might hurt me back. But honestly, I'm surprised by saying this as well. The last 2 games we faced you guys, I think it was one of the easiest games that we faced all along. Maybe that was under Bruno Lage. It makes no sense because you're not a bad side. But for some reason, maybe that was Vieira getting the best out of Lage. I don't know what it was, or I honestly don't know. But we had some good games against you guys. Now, I'm not expecting the same, but in this game, as I said, it will be typical Palace. And last game, Elise didn't start. I think he will start Elise in this game. And whenever he does start, that's when we look dangerous going forward. And when you look at your goal scoring record, you would think that we should be okay with Joachim Andersen, Mark Gahey. I know Joe Wood, I talked about being a liability. And maybe Tyrick Mitchell, if he starts there with the core in front of them, we should be okay. But this is Palace, so I'm not too sure. But then again, I think because we're at Selhurst Park, because we need a bounce back after the Leicester game, especially going forward, I am positive. But, last 2 games that we faced you guys, I think that's giving me a bit of false hope, maybe, that we could get a result, because I still, to this day, I still can't believe it.
Yeah, we were. I sort of looked at those results. I do remember that game back in March. We were dreadful in that game. But it'll be interesting to see. Can you give me a score prediction?
We won't go for the 3-0. We'll just
no. I hope not. Like I said,
we'll go for. It's, as I said, I'm expecting a bounce back, so I'm gonna go for. I want to keep a cliche. I'm just going to go for 2-0 Palace. I have to back my boys. Hopefully it doesn't hurt me.
I'll be the same.
Hopefully it doesn't hurt me. I think you got a talent. I think it could easily go the other way around. But based on what I've seen since Vieira's joined, this is screaming like a 2-0 or maybe 2-1 game, because we're at Selhurst Park and, he was not happy with the Leicester game as well. So the players will be up for it. So I'm going 2-0 Palace, but I don't know. What are you thinking?
It's going to be a close game, mate. Like I said earlier, I think with the whole situation at Wolves, as long as we get a positive result, I think, just to try and get us up the table a little bit, whether that be a point, 3 points. I'm going to Selhurst Park tomorrow, first time there
Is it?
actually. So I'd be lovely to get a win, but I think I'll probably go over 1-1. I'm going to sit on the fence as
1-1.
always. So there we go. No,
Exactly.
yeah,
But look, I think look, it'll be a good game regardless. I think there's some talent on your side as well. That's what's confusing. The fact that you haven't scored goals. You
yeah.
got the talent to score them goals, but hopefully it doesn't come up in this game. Hopefully you guys are
Yeah.
still quiet in this game, and then against Leicester, you can go back to your old ways.
No worries. Well, thank you very much, Dee, for jumping on Talking Walls. I'll be sure to leave a link to Dee and the back of the Nest channel in the description down below. And apart from on tomorrow night, mate, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you for having me on.
No, cheers, man. So once again, big thanks to Dee for jumping on the channel. If you guys have watched us for a while, you know he's our sort of Crystal Palace regular now. So be sure to check out his socials in the description down below. And do let me know your thoughts ahead of this game. I would probably take a draw. My heart is saying a 2-1. No. My heart is saying a 1-0. I think it'd be a very narrow game, gritty, dirty game like on Saturday. My head is saying a 1-1 draw. I think I'd take a point, but obviously 3 points would be absolutely massive and shoot us straight up the table, won't it? So let me know your thoughts, guys. If you're watching the game, if you're going to be down there, let me know. We'll see if we can catch up. But if not, obviously it's on Amazon Prime, I think, in the UK. So yeah, be sure to check it out. Match reaction, fans react will be out after the game as well. Be sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And until next time, I'll see you all very, very soon.